Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopidana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopidana Ballabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopidana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopidana Ballabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopidana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopidana Ballabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kundari Hari. Jai Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki jai. So today is the very, very auspicious day of Lord Krishna coming to us in Sri Vrindavan town, in Gokula Vrindavan. So we know we have this distinction between Gokula Vrindavan and Goloka Vrindavan, although actually they're the same, they're one and the same. So I'm speaking from Krishna book, Nectar of Devotion, and also Gopal Champu, which is translated by Bhanu Swami. And Srila Prabhupada said about Gopal Champu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 4, 230, Gopal Champu is the essence of all Vedic literature. And it has the most beautiful descriptions of Sri Vrindavan Dham and Krishna's pastimes, and also the Ananda Vrindavan Champu by Srila Kavi Karnapurna, who sucked Lord Chaitanya's toe and became a great writer and poet. So they're all very beautiful books that go into the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. So we're going to begin with a very saintly devotee called Parjanya. And he had 5 very saintly sons. And the eldest was Upananda, and the middle one was Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj had such exalted qualities that actually he was chosen to be the king. And that is not the tradition at all, but because he was so special, everybody wanted that he be king. So he was a Vaishya and had many thousands of cows, and he was married to the daughter of Sumukha called Yashoda. And Yashoda was famous for her wonderful qualities. So they resided in Gokul, in the transcendental realm of Vrindavan, which is decorated with 12 resplendent forests, and which contain the matchless beauty of Goloka in the spiritual world, and they are filled with unsurpassed sweetness. Those forests eternally manifest in newer and newer ways. They were full of trees, replete with flowers and fruits, and resounding with the humming of bumblebees. All kinds of birds sing pleasingly, and peacocks roamed everywhere. The golden birds, bushes, and creepers sparkled like emeralds. Some areas were full of crystal trees standing on rubies. Crystal basins of water filled by jeweled waterfalls encircled the bases of the trees and perfectly reflected the image of the trees. The trees reflected in those basins displayed ecstatic symptoms as their buds and flowers stood on end while the sap of affection for Krishna oozed out. The tender creepers wrapped around their favorite trees, carrying the heavy weight of abundant fragrant flowers. Clusters of grapevines and many attractive groves waited to fulfill the desires of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Afflictions of hunger, thirst, illusion, old age, disease, and death were absent forever in that transcendental land. Since Vrindavan is the site of Krishna's eternal pastimes, it is not subject to material transformations. The sacred Yamuna flowed through Vrindavan, filled with blue, red, and white lotuses. Herons, ducks, and sonorous geese sported in her pure waters. The shimmering white banks of the Yamuna appeared like streams of camphor. On the banks stood multicolored flower beds situated between emerald green strips of grass. Bathing cuts made of rubies, corals, and emeralds beautified Yamuna's shores. Decorative kunjas and cottages lined her banks. Flowering, fragrant creepers entwined themselves around the branches of the trees and hung down to create walls of the pastime cottages. Cuckoos and chakoras sang melodiously. The glorious Govardhana hill beautified the land of Vrindavan. Filled with all kinds of trees along with cascading waterfalls, Govardhana provided all kinds of offerings for the pleasure of the cows and the residents of Vrindavan. There were nourishing grasses for the cows and shelter such as jeweled caves or large banyan trees, keeping off the sun or rain when the cows required it. Valuable sandalwood trees were dotted throughout the hills of Govardhana, along with all kinds of minerals, gems, and precious stones. The light coming from the jewels reflected in the sky like a rainbow. There were cooling stones which were pleasing to sit on and which changed shape according to the comfort of the person sitting on them. Various animals such as deer, antelopes, and tigers lived harmoniously in the forests of Govardhana, and sweetly singing birds enhanced the atmosphere. Nanda and Yashoda lived peacefully in Gokul with the cowherd men and women of Vrindavan and all their cows and calves. Everything was auspicious. There was unlimited milk, and they all prospered. However, Nanda Maharaj had a great longing for a son. You see the pictures of Nanda Maharaj. He's got grey hair, salt and pepper hair they call it. So they were older, but they had never had a child, but they had always longed to have a child. So the reason that no child came was they actually performed sacrifices, but no child came. So there's a reason for that. And that reason is that Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda had repeatedly experienced the vision in their minds of a divinely attractive child with dark complexion and big, beautiful lotus eyes. They were intensely attracted to the child. Knowing their vision to be that of a divine child, they felt unwilling to make the effort of performing sacrifices for an ordinary child. They knew the child of their vision was not of this world. They understood also he was like Narayan and therefore beyond the purview of any material sacrifice. Nevertheless, in the end, they performed austerities and worship of Lord Narayan for a year to gain the Lord's favour. Finally, Lord Narayan appeared to them both in a dream and assured them that the form of that beautiful, divine blue boy that they had repeatedly envisioned would come to them as their son. Filled with astonishment, wonder, longing, joy, and prema, they waited. One night, Mother Yashoda saw, as if in a dream, a child being transferred from Nanda's heart to hers. A boy entered the lotus of her heart, and at the same time a girl entered within her womb. Just as a lamp in a crystal case shines within and without the case, Krishna shone within Mother Yashoda and illuminated the whole universe. Lord Balaram made his divine appearance from Rohini, and when he sat on the lap of Mother Yashoda, he became very happy due to Krishna's presence in Mother Yashoda's heart. Meanwhile, in Mathura, Vasudeva and Devaki had been imprisoned in her brother's dungeons because there was a prophecy from the sky on their wedding day that her 8th son would kill her brother, King Kamsa. He had smashed all of their children as soon as they had taken birth. Now, Devaki was pregnant with her 8th child. Kamsa anxiously awaited news of the 8th child's arrival. Vasudeva and Devaki had performed major austerities over thousands of years, praying for a son like Lord Narayan. Who can be like Lord Narayan? He has no equal or superior. Therefore, in answer to their prayers, he himself appeared in Vasudev's heart. Vasudev's effulgence became like the glowing sun. From there, he transferred to the heart of Devaki. Lord Vishnu entered her body, making her transcendently effulgent. Many demigods came invisibly to offer their prayers to the Lord within Devaki's womb. At an auspicious time, at midnight, the Supreme Lord advented himself in the prison house. That dazzling child was dressed in yellow silken garments with 4 arms, holding a conch shell, club, disc, and lotus flower. He wore the Kaustubha stone, jeweled bracelets, earrings, a valuable helmet, and was beautified by an abundance of black curling hair. Vasudeva and Devaki were struck with wonder. They recognized that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. How could he have come to them in Kamsa's prison house? Vasudeva bowed down immediately and offered prayers to the Lord, glorifying him and praising him for coming to kill the uncivilized Kamsa and his associates. Devaki then offered her prayers to glorify him, but she requested him to take the form of an ordinary baby, and she begged him to save them from the cruel hands of Kamsa. The Lord then explained to his father and mother that they had performed great austerities to have him as their son. This was their his third appearance to them, along after Prishnagarbha and Vamanadev. He promised his parents that this would be their last birth. After requesting them to take him to Gokul to exchange him with Yashoda's daughter, he turned himself into an ordinary baby and remained silent. At that very time, Krishna appeared to Yashoda in his 2-armed form in Gokul, along with Yogamaya. In Mathura, in his prison cell, Vasudeva discovered, in amazement, that the shackles had fallen from his feet. The locked doors opened, and he saw that all the guards were asleep. Outside, there was heavy rainfall and thunder in the sky. The darkness of the night disappeared due to the effulgence of the Lord. Vasudeva could see everything clearly. Anantashesha, in the shape of a serpent, spread his hood over Vasudeva's head for protection. When he arrived at the Jamuna river, he saw that the water was full of foam and that the whole river was flooded and roaring. Still, the Jamuna gave passage to Vasudeva, and he easily crossed with his precious child. Upon entering Vrindavan, he quickly went to Nanda Maharaja's palace. Finding the residents all asleep, he took the Lord into the birth room and placed him on the bed. He picked up the female baby and returned to Mathura, where he reattached his shackles and awaited Kamsa's visit. Once informed of the birth, Kamsa rushed to the prison house. Devaki informed him that the child was a girl. She begged him not to harm the child because this was not the predicted boy. Kamsa, however, did not listen to his sister, but grabbed the baby and attempted to dash her on the stone mercilessly. The child, however, slipped from his grasp, and she appeared in the sky with 8 arms, weapons, beautiful garments, and garlands. She addressed Kamsa, "Kamsa, you rascal, how can you kill me? The child who will kill you has already taken birth somewhere in this world. Don't be so cruel to your poor sister." Kamsa became overwhelmed with fear, but out of pity, he immediately released Vasudeva and Devaki and attempted to apologize to them. The pure-hearted Vasudeva and Devaki forgave him despite all his atrocities. Meanwhile, in Gokul, everything had become auspicious and the atmosphere was pure and joyful. Vasudeva had brought Vasudeva Krishna to Gokul. In Gokul, the Supreme Lord had appeared as Govinda to Nanda and Yashoda, his eternal parents. Vasudeva Krishna immediately merged with Krishna. So we know that Krishna doesn't take a step outside of Vrindavan. And of course, at this time, there were many demons who came to try to destroy Krishna. So because Vasudeva Krishna was there within Krishna, it's described that he is the one who does the killing. So this is all arranged by the Lord. So it's described that Nanda and Yashoda have been smothering Krishna with the sweetest form of parental love since time immemorial, and this is their eternal service. Mother Yashoda awoke to see her beautiful newborn child, dark like a blue lotus and more resplendent than a shining sapphire. His face was like a dark moon. His eyes were like the most astonishing lotus leaves. Feeling stunned like a painted picture, her heart filled up with joy. Rohini and the other cowherd women gathered around and began to ask, "Is the child made of a cloud the colour of a tamal leaf, fragrant with musk? His beauty melts the mind. He is so effulgent. Nectar flows from him. He is perfumed with sandalwood paste, camphor and musk." They saw Krishna as a mound of dark blue musk, softer than butter. His body seemed to be made of dazzling sapphires. At times they thought his body was made of blue lotus flowers. His mouth was red like a red bimba fruit. His nails shone like precious rubies. His beautiful dark curling hair sometimes looked like a swarm of bumblebees surrounding his moon-like face, and sometimes like black sapphires. Seeing the extraordinary beauty of her son merged Mother Yashoda in bliss. Hearing of Krishna's birth, Nanda Maharaj's hair stood on end as he rushed joyfully to meet his son. On seeing his divinely attractive form, the playground of rare, soft, flawless beauty, his father was completely charmed. Nanda Maharaj felt that he had attained all perfection, all happiness, and the fulfillment of all his desires. He stood motionless and stunned, with tears gushing. The relatives and friends were all overjoyed and offered their full hearts to Krishna. Nanda Maharaj gave charity of thousands of newborn calves and cows, decorated with golden ornaments to all the brahmanas. Delight danced in everyone's hearts. The cowherd men brought many varieties of delicious milk products in jewel-studded pots. The rajbasis were filled with boundless bliss. The women brought golden trays filled with auspicious articles. They worshipped Krishna with fresh flowers, yogurt, durva grass, uncooked rice, and jewel-bedecked lamps. The brahmanas chanted auspicious mantras. Poets glorified Krishna's beauty. Musicians played their instruments, and singers sang to welcome the Lord. Everyone blessed that wonderfully auspicious boy who had just appeared in Vrindavan. The festival drowned the inhabitants in an ocean of joy. These spotless residents of holy Vrindavan were full of the highest prema for the Prince of Raja, and their lives were 100% engaged in pleasing him. They were all liberated souls beyond the transformations of time. The honest and gentle cowherd men embodied religious principles and were fully attached to Krishna. Their sons became Krishna's cowherd friends, and their daughters were his dearest lovers. They were eternally youthful. With their musk and sandal-scented bodies, the boys had clear eyes and brilliantly effulgent hair. Their smiling lotus faces brought happiness to Krishna at all times. They far surpassed the demigods, and they existed eternally as Krishna's beloved associates. Srimati Radharani, the queen of Vrindavan, and her beloved girlfriends were resplendent with all wonderful qualities. They appeared always as divinely fresh young girls and were the epitome of beauty. They bestowed the bliss of 1,000,000 moons, and they enchanted the son of Nanda Maharaj. The Brahmanas living in Nanda Maharaj's village were extremely merciful, learned, and always displayed sense and mind control, tolerance and renunciation. Similarly, their wives were decorated with all good qualities and were absorbed in great love for Krishna. Although the oil sellers, tambula salesmen, goldsmiths, potmakers, weavers, and blacksmiths had spiritual bodies, they behaved as ordinary humans and used their skills to please the Lord as well as all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Rows of crystal goshalas topped with emerald beams and golden crossbeams spread out in all directions around Nanda Maharaj's palace. Thousands and thousands of cows became overwhelmed with joy whenever they saw Krishna, and they lifted up their tails in happiness. They felt great delight when they were milked. They were Kamadhenu cows and fulfilled all desires. They were decorated with happy calves. These adorable calves jumped about in joy. Many shops made of jewels sold whatever the Brajavasis desired. Lakes of crystal clear water, covered with water lilies and white, red and blue lotuses, lay scattered through the forests. Out of his independent will, the Supreme Lord desired to appear in this world as the baby son of Nanda and Yashoda, the eternal embodiments of paternal affection. The reason he came was to give pleasure to his beloved devotees. Accepting their care and attention, the omnipotent Lord covered his majesty with an unprecedented sweetness. By exhibiting all the different stages of boyhood, Kumara, Poganda, and Kaishore, the Supreme Lord appeared like an ordinary human being. But throughout these stages, he remained in his original form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these Vrindavan pastimes are so special. They're not there in Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan is 16 years old. He doesn't go through these stages where he appears and he grows and changes his body. He's always in that eternal form of youth. Mother Yasoda, however, and the elderly gopis and gopas, their mood is that Krishna is a young boy. They still have that mood, and they delight in that. And in the Nectar of Devotion, it's described that they see him as the middle of the Poganda age. They always see him like that, like 7 and 8. And also they relish and they remember together the the pastimes when Krishna is a small boy. They discuss and they relish that. And the other thing that does not happen in Goloka Vrindavan is there are no demons. There's so many things. The demigods can't come and harass Lord Krishna. There are not forest fires. This all happens here in Gokul Vrindavan, which is why it's so special and why we have the great fortune to be able to go and spend time in that holy place and see these places where Krishna had these wonderful pastimes. So in the Nectar of Devotion, it talks about this Vatsalya relationship with those devotees, those elderly gopis, gopas, his teachers, Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, etc. So Krishna's relationship with those devotees, when he's very young, is very mild and sweet and respectful and humble. So they feel like Krishna is their dependent. They feel like they're his maintainer and they look after him. So they feel like they're superior and they have to look after Krishna. Krishna's, for instance, when Krishna lifted Govardhana hill, Mother Yasoda just fainted because she couldn't accommodate it. Her Krishna, her little boy, lifting Govardhana hill, she couldn't take that in. So she fainted. And then when she was brought back to consciousness, she was thinking, Nanda Maharaj is helping him. He's my little boy. How can he be holding a mountain? So this was always their mood. Krishna was their young, that they adored Krishna, but he was like their young dependent. And so Krishna also acted in that way. So they were in love with his childish dress, his play, his broken words when he was small, his teeth appearing in his gums, his crying, his sucking his thumb, sucking his toes, his throwing of legs upwards, his trying to run quickly on his little legs, his singing, his clapping. The elderly gopis would sing and get Krishna to clap and sing, and they would laugh and be filled up with the utmost joy at seeing this. They loved his butter stealing. So Krishna had some tricks. Krishna, we know, is the supreme strategist. So when he and Balaram decided to target a particular house for stealing butter and yogurt, first of all, they had trained up a monkey, and that monkey, his job was to go in and create absolute havoc in that house. So he was very expert. That monkey would run in and pull things and smash things and rush around and then take things out of the house. So all the gopis in the house would run out of the house to try and chase that monkey. So Krishna and Balaram, of course, were secretly hiding in the garden, and in they'd go. And they had open slather. They could steal as much butter and yogurt as they wished before they got out, before the gopis returned to their house after having chased that monkey. So it's described also that one time Krishna he was caught. He was caught stealing yogurt. So that gopi took Krishna by the hand and said, right, Mother Yasoda doesn't believe that you do this, so I've caught you in the act, and I'm going to take you now to Mother Yasoda. So she covered his face with a cloth, and she dragged him by the hand, and Krishna was saying, please don't take me to Mother Yasoda, please don't take me, please don't tell her. But she was adamant. So when finally she got to Mother Yasoda and she said, I've just caught him stealing butter in my house. And she took off the cloth, and there was her son. Mother, what are you doing? What's happening? So Krishna later told her, this gopi, she said, next time if you catch me and take me to Mother Yasoda, I'll turn into your husband. But this pastime of stealing butter was such a wonderful, gave so much pleasure. And Mother Yasoda, she would sometimes hide, and she'd get some of her servants to hide so that Krishna wouldn't see them. And then Krishna was about to do something naughty, so they delighted in watching his eyebrows as he stealthily looked around. It gave them so much pleasure. And even though sometimes they liked that cunning mood that he was showing, the cunning face, it just satisfied their hearts like anything. So sometimes they would gather together, the cowherd women, and go and complain to Mother Yasoda about Krishna's stealing butter and all the things that he would do. And Mother Yasoda, of course, she's her son's greatest well-wisher, but she would have to hear these things, and they would be complaining about Krishna stealing the butter, and then if he couldn't get butter sometimes he'd spit on the floor, he'd pinch their babies, he'd pass urine on the floor, and so many naughty things, but they said, just see your Krishna now, he's sitting there like such a good boy, but all day they make plans to steal our butter and yogurt. So Mother Yasoda would mildly say, oh well, she'd mildly chastise. And that was one of the things that she used to do when she was talking to Krishna. She would try to convince him not to grow up to be a thief. So Mother Yasoda, she's the embodiment of that love for Krishna. So whenever she would see Krishna, her breasts would fill with milk. And it's described that even when the Yadus, and of course Krishna's a prince with many wives, when they came to Kurukshetra on a special event, the residents of Vrindavan went there also and they met them. And it's described that as soon as Mother Yasoda saw Krishna, even though he's a grown man with so many children and wives, her breasts immediately filled with milk. It was this Leela, she's eternally Krishna's mother, and she always just has that wonderful parental love for him. So each day they would wait for Krishna to return from the cow herding, and he would come back all covered with dust from the cows, and they'd be looking, they'd go up on the top of the palace to look, to see as soon as the dust came, they'd call, Nanda Maharaj would call them, they're coming, and everybody would become so happy that Krishna was coming back. And he would like to smell Krishna's head, and then they would take Krishna, and Mother Yasoda would bathe him and put nice tilak and nice ornaments. And then Krishna would go and milk the cows, and the cows would become ecstatic, and he would sing as he was milking the cows, and squirt milk here, there, and everywhere. So the pastimes in Vrindavan are so very special and different. Also, when Krishna expanded, there was an incident where Lord Brahma stole the cows and boys. And because his time is so different, that moment that he stole them for, the cows, the cowherd boys and the calves he stole, so that moment that he stole them for became a whole year. So Krishna, when he saw that they were missing, he was like, how can I go back alone to Vrindavan without the cowherd boys? And how can I not take the calves there? He then expanded to be every single one of the boys and every single one of the calves. And back they went. So we know that Krishna is the cynosure of all eyes, and that everybody is fully in love with Krishna in Vrindavan more than their own children. And the elderly gopis used to always want to feed Krishna. And so for this whole year, their breast milk went to Krishna. All their cooking was for Krishna, and they became so much, before they were attached to Krishna, and not so, they were attached to their sons, but not as much as Krishna. But for this year, they became completely attached to their sons, because they were Krishna. And the same with the cows. They became completely attached to their calves. And there is an incident where the cows were up on the top of Govardhana hill with the cowherd men, and the calves were down in the valley with Krishna and the cowherd boys. And as soon as the cows saw the calves down in the valley, they just rushed down this Govardhana hill to be with their calves. And the calves, of course, were very happy to see their mothers, and they drank the milk, and the cowherd men were very frustrated because all the milk was drunk. So this is because, that love had so intensified within that year, and this was the incident that alerted Balaram to what was going on. And then he asked Krishna, how come these cows are so attached to the calves just like they're attached to you? And how is it the mothers are so attached to their boys just like they're so attached to you? And then at that time, Krishna revealed, yes, Lord Brahma stole the cows and calves. So, as well as these pastimes with the inhabitants of Vrindavan, there are leelas with the demons, which do not happen in Goloka Vrindavan. And it's described that sometimes Krishna likes to fight. Of course, he fights the cowherd boys, but he likes to fight. So at that time, he comes and through his avatars, etc., he fights, and here he's come himself. So all these demons are coming to attack Krishna, and Krishna has to decide. For each demon, he decides a different way to control them. For instance, the horse is controlled by the mouth. They put the bit in the mouth, and the horse is controlled by that. So he knew to put his fist into the Keshi demon, and that fist, of course, turned red hot, and Keshi was smashed. So he had different methods of killing the various demons. So this all happened because they were able to be displayed because of Krishna's appearance in Vrindavan here, in our Gokul Vrindavan. So today we're celebrating Krishna's holy appearance. Krishna's holy appearance blesses and purifies the whole planet. And we can remember his loving compassion on us by coming to display these nectarine pastimes in Vrindavan Dham, along with all his wonderful devotees. He brought every one of his wonderful devotees from the spiritual world to take part in these wonderful pastimes. So today we can pray to Krishna to count us as one of his eternal servants, despite all our flaws and shortcomings. And today is an opportunity that we can beg Krishna for his causeless mercy, because he's especially merciful on these appearance days, and this is the best time to pray to him for mercy. So we know that Krishna has unlimited sevaks, and he has unlimited pure sevaks. In the spiritual world, everybody is his pure sevak. So we understand that we are we have many shortcomings, but if we can pray to Krishna on this day to gain some affection, more and more affection for him within the core of our hearts, then he is likely to help us to allow that, so that we can become attracted to his pastimes, to his holy name, to his dhams, to his seva. So we are extremely blessed that we get this opportunity to serve the Lord every day, to chant the Lord's names every day, to associate with devotees of the Lord every day. Our lives are completely blessed. So let us remember this on this holy day, and as much as possible within our hearts glorify the Lord for all that he has given us and for who he is, and glorify the fact that we are all his tiny eternal servants. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful Janmashtami day today. Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki jai.